So I'm back today with my boy Jazz. Jazz, 6'3", avid basketball player. And you see, the thing is about Jazz, I really like Jazz, but one of the things I don't like about Jazz is he thinks LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. He's a baller. Any baller that's telling me LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, it's just not right, is it?
Little kids that school's the way.
It's a bit more natural. It's natural, it's simple. The problem is when this thing falls off the mirror halfway through, and you're like, you know. Should we give it a little wash first? Let me tell you, Jazz, your hair got a little bit out of control. Look at it, bro. Maybe you should start visiting the barber a little bit more frequently. I mean, really, Jazz doesn't change it much. He's kind of gone from a 4 on the top to having a little bit more length on the top. But basically, he just has a fade. He's a baller. He likes simple things. He wants it simple. He wants his head to look like a basketball. It's that simple. In this case, we're going to leave a little bit more length on the top. And that's really how Jazz spices it up. The only way Jazz spices it up is by, you know, let's have a little bit more length on the top this time. Let's bend the fade a little bit this time. Maybe we go a little bit shorter this time. So they're really simple things, but at least it keeps me on my toes and it keeps Jazz's gal on their toes, yeah? Anyway, let's dive straight into the trim. So the basic aim of this trim with Jazz is to, one, create a fire fade. Today I want to bend the fade around a little bit so we kind of leave a little bit of the hairline without adding enhancements. Every fucking barber uses enhancements these days. I'm not that guy. We're not using no enhancements. We're gonna try and achieve the same results without using any enhancement, yeah? So that at least when Jazz is playing basketball, looking all fresh and the gal them are watching, the enhancement doesn't start running away with him like the scoreboard. So look, Jazz, I can't turn you into a better shooting guard, but I can give you a fire trim. So let's do that shit. One of the things I want to discuss with this haircut is the idea of texture. A lot of barbers use texture as a buzzword, and I think clients use it for the same reason. They say, let me have some texture in my hair. What does that even mean? It's too ambiguous. What is texture? Is texture when I chop into the hair? And does chopping in the hair really do anything? Is it that minuscule that it does very little? Consider that texture has nothing to do with chopping into the hair, and it's more to do with the choice of length. Whether the hair is long or short or anywhere in between, it's gonna have a different texture. Now, when I'm talking to Jazz, I said, Jazz, look, the texture that I want to create on the top of your head is similar to suede. And I'm not going to achieve that by chopping into your hair in a really flashy, cool fashion. It's more about the length that we choose. First thing I'm doing, one is I'm analysing his hair before anything. But I kind of already know how Jazz's hair is because I've been cutting it for over 4 years. But for you guys, it's super straight. It's type 1A. Very, very straight. Very, very thick. I said very a lot there. It's straight and it's thick. It's also that Asian hair that if you cut it, you tend to get hair splinters. That's how thick and how sharp it is. So all I'm doing here is sectioning off the back from the top. And because Jazz has very thick hair, I'm using the natural flow of his crown to create a section. Now, I'm going to use really clean sections here, mainly so that you guys can understand the shape that I'm creating. It's not 100% necessary. All that sectioning the hair does at this length is give you control over the hair. But really, I can just use his head shape as reference. It's not 100% essential that you create super clean, fine sections. You really don't need to do this. You can condense this down. Luckily, I own the barbershop, so frankly, I can take however long I want on a haircut. Starting off through the top, I've created a section from the back all the way to the front. We're leaving a slight corner at the back, rounding it off towards the front hairline. From ear to ear, or from side to side, I want to create a uniform shape because I want all the hair on the top to be the same texture. And here I'm just trying to show you that I'm not over directing the hair. You can see there that if I pull the hair back, gradually increase in length. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing the cut hair into the uncut hair, and you can see I'm following the round of the head. It also helps, if you look in the mirror, you can see the exact shape that you're creating in real time. And you can see that I'm combing the hair, I'm just seeing the texture, and you can see now it's starting to stand up a little bit, and that's the kind of texture I want. And here you can see that I've pulled Jazz's head towards me. That's just so I'm not leaning over Jazz's head. Otherwise it's going to hurt my back, so pulling his head towards me makes it a little bit easier for me to follow the natural round of his head and not hurt my back in the process. And every time I cut a section, I'm assessing, I'm having a little look, am I happy with the texture? Now, if you cross-check and you see a big increase in length or a corner, you know that your over direction was incorrect. Maybe you didn't move his head enough. Maybe you weren't checking in the mirror. So it's important to cross-check. Cross-checking is really important because it helps you understand when you've made a mistake. And you want to find that out quickly, because if you find out right at the end of the haircut, when you've dried it off, then you're going to have to go back through the haircut all over again to fix it. You can see now, it's really evident the difference in textures. You can see now I'm roughing it up. The texture of the top is completely different to the texture at the back. Now I want to continue that texture through to the back. I think it would look really strange if we put a corner in and there was a longer texture. I'm not afraid of that crown spiking up a little bit because I'm going to create shape out of it with clipper over comb in a minute anyway. So you can see I'm creating a guide, I'm pulling all the hair out, and I'm using the guide that we set on the top and bringing that into the back. Now, Jazz, I'm just using sections And I'm pivoting those sections around your head. I'm pivoting, continuing that length from the top down to the occipital bone. And again, you can see that there's no over direction. I'm pulling the hair directly out from the base, and I'm turning jazz in the chair. This just means that I can keep my body position consistent.
Purchase your track today.
Same again, just using those sections around the head, turning jazz.
Purchase your track today. Purchase your track today.
And you can see, when I pull the hair out, I'm tucking my knuckle in. I'm tucking that knuckle in. In that way, I'm graduating into the layering that we just created at the back. So I'm just prepping myself for the fade at the sides. Now I'm going in with our blunt salt spray. I don't need to add anything greasy. I just want something that's going to create a dry, textured, matte finish. So I'm starting the drying off around the crown, and I'm just loosely drying it. I'm just kind of moving the hairdryer around. I don't need a comb, I don't need a brush. You can see I'm just drying it off. I want to see how it expands. Put my finger into his crown, I finger blast his crown, and I just dry around my finger so that the crown can go into its natural position. And now you can really see the shape I'm creating. I had to swap my comb because the other day in our fading and suitability workshop, I snapped the comb demonstrating this. So I thought I'd use Danny's comb instead, so at least if I snapped it, it was Danny's comb and not my comb. But you can see the shape that we've created. I think it's a pretty beautiful shape, and you can also see the texture. See how the texture is almost like suede. So now, Jazz, it's really important that I don't take the shape too high. What I've noticed is where a lot of barbers go wrong, they neglect head shape. So you can see with this haircut, every step is preparing us for the next. Firstly, we're creating the texture and the shape on the top, is then leading us into the shape on the back. The back is then leading us into the shape on the sides. You can see where the sides round into the contour. The contour usually starts from the front of the ear down to the mastoid process. But the easiest way to find this is by just balancing the comb on the side of the head, like I did here on Jazz. Side, contour. So Jazz, with you, we really want to create a square shape on the round of the head. If we go too high, it's going to look too round and you're going to look like a cashew nut. So we want to leave that corner. And you can see here that if I take the shape too high, it's going to look terrible when you look in the mirror. This is where a lot of barbers go wrong. They neglect shape. They prioritise fade over shape. Now, if you're a client and you're watching this video, it's difficult to explain this to your barber because a lot of barbers don't know how to voice it either. I remember when I used to get my hair cut, before I was a barber, I still get my hair cut today, but before I was a barber, I used to look in the mirror and I'd have the perfect shape and I'd want to tell the barber, can you just stop? Stop there, the shape's perfect. But they'd carry on going higher and higher and higher until I looked like a pineapple. And I've got a real peanut shaped head, so it didn't look good, it looked terrible. And I just didn't know how to explain that to the barber. And here I'm trying to demonstrate to you a shape that's suitable for your head shape, Jazz. And you can see visually the kind of shape that we want to create. I'm separating the sides into two portions. One is the shape, two is the blend or the fade, if you will. One doesn't work without the other. I think it's important to prepare the shape before you start tackling the fade. So you can see here the technique I'm using is clipper over comb to tackle the shape. Now you could also use a long guard, like maybe a 3 or a 4, but I think with Jazz's hair I have more control using a technique like clipper over comb. Now you can also see that the angle of my comb is different depending where I am on the head. If I'm on the side of the head, as I show here on a head sheet, I'm using the comb at this angle. When I round into the contour, the comb tilts 45 degrees and I use this angle of the comb. As long as you follow these basic principles, it's going to be very easy to create shape. It's when you don't follow these principles that you start fucking up the head shape. Now into the back, rounding from the contour down to the occipital bone. A basic understanding of Jazz's head shape makes it a lot easier to do this. Understanding where the occipital bone is, understanding where the contour is and the sides are, makes it a lot easier when I approach the haircut. Also understanding where the bone cluster is behind the ear or the mastoid process. So now that I've prepared the shape, it's time to start the fading, Jazz. So I just want to meet that shape with a long clipper guard. You could go in with a 2 if you want to be really safe, maybe a 3, but I'm going to use a 1.5 and just use the motion of the clipper. And I'm just flicking the clipper out into the shape that we created with the clipper over comb. I hear all the time, can I get a low, can I get a mid, can I get a high fade? To me, that's all bollocks. The best fade is the fade that suits your head shape. Now, we've already established that there's 2 parts to a fade. 1, the shape, 2, the fade. We've already created the shape. Now, we just need to leave enough space and avoid any indentations in the head to create a smooth transition into the shape. And the same principle applies. I'm following the same angles that I did with the clipper over comb. When I move into the contour, I'm rotating 45 degrees and then I'm rounding it off into the back. Now I'm just cleaning up the hair underneath the guideline. I'm using a balding clipper. I really like these balding clippers, man. They have a curved blade and a magnetic motor. And it just means you can really get the hair close to skin. And that's just going to prepare me to go in with my Andis Skinner. I don't really like these Andis, I've just got them. I don't really care. The main thing is it takes it right to skin. Lifting up the hair to show you where his natural hairline is, and I'm using his natural features to determine the angle of the hairline. I went in with a 1.5. What's shorter than a 1.5? A number 1, so I'm putting a number 1 guard on with my clipper open, and I'm blending down into my guideline. I'm blending and I'm making sure that I don't fuck up the shape. So I might turn him to the mirror and have a little look at the shape, and then I take that 1 guard off, gradually opening and closing the clipper, just blending the hair down to the skin. And look, you don't really need me to tell you how to blend. There's a million videos out there on how to blend. The main thing is you can see that I'm following these basic principles, and every step is preparing me for the next step. Saf's a fireman, and let me just say he's got the sickest moustache I've ever seen in my life. So I had to say wagwan. Look at the tosh, bro. This geezer got the sickest moustache. Anyway, back to the fading. There's a lot of barbers out there that will start with a 0 line on the sides, then they'll start cutting the top, then they'll do the shape, and there's just no order to the haircut. And you can see that I'm following a very strict order. Every step is preparing me for the next step. I wasn't really happy with that front bit by the temple, and I think that's because towards the front of his hairline by the temple, it's slightly less dense. So I'm just going in with a 1.5 and I'm just lightening that front area up. But remember, I want to keep a little bit of darkness so that I can maintain that C-cup. I still want to have a little bit of a C-cup. Same exact process on the other side. I've done the shape. Now I'm creating a guide for the skin. I'm using a 0 with my Barber clipper there. Really, it doesn't matter what clipper it is, as long as it's a 0. And look, here's one of my biggest pet hates, guys. This shit does my head in. I call clients out for this all the time. When a client frowns or lifts their eyebrows, it engages a muscle at the side of the head. The muscle's called the frontal muscle, and it completely fucks up the fade. If they engage that frontal muscle and you're fading and then they relax, the whole fade changes and it's not consistent. So you can see I just put my fingers on his head and I just go, yo, Jazz bro, just relax, man. Relax. There ain't nothing important enough to look at right now. The most important thing is we give you a fire fade. Forget about it. Now Jazz, all I'm doing is I'm turning you to the mirror and I'm making sure the shape's correct on both sides. I think the fade looks fire, but I'm just gonna touch up the shape, touch up the fade, the blend into the shape, see if there's any inconsistencies, and I'm just gonna iron those inconsistencies out. But Jazz, I think the shape's fire, bro. The fade's looking creme and the shape's looking fire. I love the texture on the top. So yes sir, that's what we want. I really like that little C-cup around the sides, and remember, Jazz is a simple man. We only change the little things up. So now I'm just cleaning up that external shape on the fringe. I don't want it really sharp. You know, you could go in with an edge and box it off, but I don't think that looks great when you've got that suede look on the top. There's too much contrast there. So I'm just going, in this case, again, it's just a small difference. You know, maybe next time I will box it off, but today I'm just chopping in with the scissor and just trying to create a soft finish to the front hairline.
This one's crazy.
Now I'm just using the corner of his jawline as a guide for the neck. Where most barbers go wrong here is they take the line too high. They take it right up to the jaw. And then if you look at his head from the side, it looks like he's got a big fat neck. We don't want to do that. So the top line, the cheek, we're trying not to push the hairline as much as possible, and we're just matching the line on the neck. It should really be perpendicular to the line on the neck. So now I'm just cleaning up above the lip, just so you ain't got any hair going in your food, Jazz. just cleaning up above the lip a little bit. So now I'm going to lean Jazz back now that I've done that, because before I was using the mirror as a reference, but now that I've got all my guidelines in, I don't need the mirror anymore, so I'm just going to clean up the lines that I've got and get it all ready for me to razor. Now I'm putting the towel on, gowning him up, putting my gloves on because he doesn't know where my hands have been, a little bit of shaving gel to provide a layer of lubrication, then a hot towel to soften the beard hair and bring any blood to the surface of the skin. I get my blade ready.
I said the roads them are slippy and you're a slick top. Had me sitting in the south road with no big buds, I was blazing on.
Put some more shaving gel on, apply a little bit of tension to the neck and remove the neck hair with the grain. I want to remove the hair and create as little irritation as possible. I'm using very small strokes. If I use long strokes, the hair's going to get caught up and it's going to clog up the razor and stop removing hair. And all I'm doing is meeting the guideline I created with my detailer.
No tears, no tissue. Opposite sex on my mind, it's a mythful. Gel like shitful. Living life like I'm broke, yeah, I'm in a shithole. Living life like I'm broke, yeah, I'm in a shithole. Yeah, it's pure pain on the rhythm. I'm banged up, but it still rains when I'm in here. Pissed off, but it won't change when I'm in here. Got me sipping on hooch, got me waving when I'm in here like, yeah, pure pain on the rhythm. Banged up, but it still rains when I'm in here. Pissed off, but it won't change when I'm in here. Got me sipping on hooch, got me waving when I'm in here like, try violate, push your wig back. I caught a little charge, I read that. My 3 dogs roll on lions, no ridgeback. I was in the pen with the riffraffs, flying down the M6, doing bare zigzags. Helicopter caught me in the garden, I was pissed fam. A few months without my baby girl, yeah, it hit man. Can't make up for the time that I miss man. Speaking to my daughter on the phone, yeah, I missed that. Shit really hit the fucking fan, it's a mishap. Moving in the fast lane, feds made me sit back. Had to value shit I never valued, real shit fam. Carbs and protein, beans out the tin can. HMP, Winston Green, where I've been at. Ain't smoked dank in a minute, where the trees at. Squeeze on a pagan name, higher than his kneecap. So much drama in my life, had to recap. B mum stressing on my line about peace fam. Robbing and thieving, fucking with my feelings. Heard he's got dirty cash, yeah, so we cleaned him. Just got to Q and Hayes and Goose for the evening. Phoned up Shadow, get the mic when we're meeting. Soon touch Nige, get live on the weekend. Soon touch Nige, get live on the weekend. The money don't come easy.
I also want the finish to be matte. I don't think it would look very good greasy and shiny, especially at this length. I want that suede kind of look and feel. So I'm using a little bit of our salt spray. And basically all the salt spray does is create a dry, textured finish. It's the kind of finish that you get when you come out of the sea. You know, when you come out of the sea and the hair feels a little bit dry, a little bit textured. And I think that's perfect for your hair, Jazz, because your hair is very oily naturally. So look, just to sum up, Jazz, we wanted a suede feel to the top of the hair, so I think we found the perfect choice of length there. We started with the top prepared us for the back then prepared us for the shape on the sides. The shape then prepared us for the blend. So my thought process when I'm going into this haircut is I want to make my life simpler. I want to have a reductionist outlook. Every single step is going to prepare me for the next step, Jazz. It's pointless me making my life more difficult than it needs to be. That's just a waste of time. Now, Jazz, Let's be fair, the trim's fire. There's a reason that you've been coming to me for over 6 years now, and you'll be coming to me for the rest of your life, because I bust out trims like this on you. And look, any barbers that are watching out there, remember, there's always a trade-off. You might say, I can do that fade blur here. To that, I say, well done. But will you retain the shape? Will you keep a shape that suits Jazzy's head? Remember, if you want to comment telling me how shit I did this haircut, please do it. I'm happy to respond. You can also leave us a little like or a dislike, whatever. And if you want to see more videos like this where we're breaking down haircuts, you should probably subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. If you want to book in with me or any of the guys at the shop, we're all taught in the same way, then go over to BLUNTBARBER.com. And also, if you want to buy any of the products or sign up for one of our workshops, maybe you want us to come out to you and do a workshop, we can also do that. Drop us an email, mail@bluntbarber.com, or sign up through our website. Nice one.